G'day Reefers, I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Welcome to Aquatica TV. Today we're back at one of our favourite tanks, High Tech Reef. We're going to check out the tank. There's been some amazing growth with the coral and we're going to upgrade the protein skimmer. High Tech Reef is an incredible reef system. It's a very large tank, it's incredibly tall, it's effectively a huge wall of coral. There's some really interesting equipment that runs on this tank. Now we won't talk too much about the equipment today because we did cover this in the last episode on this beautiful tank. But let's have a look at the fish and corals because there is some incredible growth. The corals have really done well over the last 12 months. Their color is better, they're bigger, and they've really started to take over this tank. The fish are also doing exceptionally well. So let's start by having a look at some of my favorite sections of coral in this tank. From the last time we were here, the area of the tank that to me looks like it has grown the most is this top left-hand section. And there's a really cool mix of bird's nest coral. You can see we've got one here, this pinky one at the front. There's bird of paradise over on the back, and a couple of others. And they've really mixed in beautifully with the aquapora. And when you look down on this tank, there's practically no more space of light. And it's a beautiful effect, and I particularly like this area. We've got the hammers down the bottom here. For me, this tank is about the SBS up the top. There's a Montipora. There's another, this really cool chili pepper Monty here. It's really grown over the rock, looking awesome. Let's have a look at the middle section. I love this tabling acro. The way it's come out, you can see the growth is beautifully attached to the rockwork, but coming out, creating this ledge, which is a really nice effect. The Bacillopora are doing incredibly well. Bacillopora are probably one of the hardier SBS corals that are in this tank, but the amount of growth still is incredible. We've got the purple and the green, and together they look awesome. There's also what we call a twisty turban. It's a turbinaria, and it's kind of wrapped amongst this acro and favia, and it looks really cool in there, and it's one of my favorite turbans. It does give this really cool ruffled effect. There's a bird's nest down here, the green as well as this pinky one, and I only just found out today that this is from my display tank. Now, I've lost this bird's nest. I can't remember what happened to it, but certainly I'm going to hit up the owner for a frag of this one. I can't wait to have it back in my tank, and the brightness of this bird's nest is awesome. Let's have a look at the right-hand side because that's where the real signature piece of coral in this tank is. I love the right-hand side of this tank, and it really features the centerpiece coral of the tank, you probably have to say, which is this massive red chalice. Now, this was a large chalice last time we were here 12 months ago, but it is huge, and it has grown heaps since we're here. It's actually grown onto the rockwork a lot more than when we saw it last. But I also love this blue stag acro at the top, as well as the Montipora digitata, and the other Montes and Leptocerus down here. There's also this huge crisper anemone, which looks awesome at the base. But there's one coral that is really featured amongst this whole tank, and that's the chalice. So let's have a quick look at the different chalice colonies in this tank. I've already mentioned the huge red colony of chalice, and it's sensational, but there's a number of other chalice in this tank that are particularly nice, and my favorite is this purple with the pink eyes, which is drooping over the rockwork. It looks really good. There's another one the same color around the back of this bombing, but also there's a gold eye green chalice just here, which is sensational. There's a little colony of gold chalice just here doing very well, and there's other chalice colonies dotted around the tank. The vertical nature of the rockwork, this sheer cliff face of corals, is probably one of the reasons why the chalice does so well. It particularly likes the angle of the rockwork in this tank. We're not just here today to look at the tank as beautiful as it is. We're actually here to do a job. The protein skimmer that's been running on this tank for the last few years is desperately in need of replacement, and we have just the thing for it. Today we're going to upgrade the protein skimmer to the Great White GW-30 DC. We'll have a close look at this awesome skimmer. We're going to take it out of the box, show you how it works, install it in the tank, and then show you how to tune it. So we'll start by taking it out of the box. We're going to put this protein skimmer together. So you can see the different parts that we've got. Obviously the body of the skimmer, the cup, we've got the pump, which is going to be internal inside the body of the skimmer. We've also got the controller. Being a DC, this is actually able to be controlled, the amount of water the pump is pumping. We've got our Venturi tube, which is going to draw air into the pump to create the fine bubbles, as well as a tube which is specifically for draining the cup. Now, in a big protein skimmer like this, it's going to create a lot of waste. It's great to have the ability to drain the cup, so you don't have to take the cup off every time you want to drain it out. Now, what Ben's doing here is he's put the pump on the base plate. He's putting the diffuser on top of that. The diffuser just creates the right sort of flow through the body of the skimmer so that you get maximum contact with bubbles and water, as well as mixing it in the body of the skimmer. We've got the pump intake here. The body goes on as such. You've got plastic screws that screw the body of the skimmer into the base plate, so you don't have to worry about screws that are going to rust, which I think was one of the problems with the previous protein skimmer. What else? We've got the ability to control the height of the water in the body of the protein skimmer using this valve. You twist the valve to increase and decrease the size of the outlet hole, which means you can raise and lower the level that the skimmer is skimming at, as well as the control with the pump, as I said before, being a DC. So a very easy to put together skimmer. They're a great unit. It's good to see that it's coming together so quickly. It won't be too long and we'll put it in the tank. Awesome. Now that Ben's put the majority of it together, I'm going to come in and look like the hero and put the last part on. We've actually got the Venturi hose that I mentioned before, and it attaches to this part of the neck. Now, the reason why I find this so interesting is because this is actually where the silencer is. So you've got the ability to increase or decrease the amount of air being drawn down the venturi hose by twisting these two screws. So it's a really neat idea for how to tune the skimmer with the air intake, as well as creating a silencer built into the body of the skimmer. It's a really good idea. Another thing I love about these skimmers is that they actually give you the water height on the instructions that you should run the skimmer at to get either a dry skim or a wet skim. Now, this is the section that the protein skimmer is going to sit inside of, and it's actually about 14 inches deep, which is a little bit too deep for our wet skim. So we've got a stand that the skimmer is going to sit on, and that gives us a few inches so that we can optimize the water height in the skimmer. So we just have to get the skimmer in there, and this is probably going to be the hard part because it is a huge skimmer. There we go. So we've got the skimmer in place, and we've put the power supply and the controller where it's going to be right here. Now all we have to do is turn it on. So plug it in there, and our controller is working, and you can see the bubbles in the skimmer. Now we have to tune the skimmer. So we're going to see where the bubbles sit at, and it looks like the bubbles have stopped going up. So we'll let it there for a sec. So we're at our maximum flow with the pump. Yep. So you can go lower, but we'll go back to the maximum because I think we've got the perfect water level in the sump for this. So we're going to leave it on high flow, and now we're going to adjust the valve, as I mentioned before, to make the bubbles in the body of the skimmer raise up to where we want them. So now I'm going to close off the valve down the bottom by twisting the dial towards the negative, and this is going to make the level that the skimmer is skimming at go up. So I'll just do it slowly so it doesn't go too quick. The height that you run the bubbles in the body of the skimmer is what dictates whether or not it's a wet or a dry skim. And we talk about wet skims, which are more dilute than a dry skim. So typically, I like to have the level that it's skimming in around about the base of the cup. Something else I need to do, I'm going to open up the air intakes fully. The more air into the skimmer, the better. But I reckon they were pretty close to fully open. The level that it's skimming at has dropped a little bit, so I'm going to raise it again in the negative. There we go. And it's as easy as that. If I had a problem that the skimmer was over skimming, maybe I had too much depth that it was sitting in, then I could use the controller to reduce the flow of the pump. But I like to have the pump on full power whenever possible. It's skimming a little bit high, so let's go back the other way. And this is how you fine tune it. It's something that normally takes probably 10 or 15 minutes because there's a slow reaction time every time you change the dial. But it's a very easy skimmer to tune, and with the color of the skimmate, of the water in the body, And as we'll see in the future, the colour of the skimmate, you'll see that this is going to be a really effective skimmer for this tank. We won't need to sit here very long to see some skimmate produced in this skimmer. It's actually quite incredible how close to producing waste that's going to fill the cup this skimmer already is. It's only been a couple of minutes. But one of the other things I really like about these skimmers is the shape of them. They're quite a tall skimmer, and that gives the bubbles more dwell time in the body of the skimmer, which means you get better contact and you get a better skimmate produced. Now, that was one of the disadvantages of the previous skimmer. It was quite squat, and whilst it always did a fairly good job, this skimmer is going to be excellent on this tank. I'm happy to say that our installation of the GW-30 DC was a huge success. I think it's going to make a big difference to this tank, and certainly the fish are looking particularly happy, very stress-free, considering there is now a great white in the system. So that's today's episode of Gallery Aquatica TV. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Happy reefing.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, excellent. That's it for this week's episode of Gallery Aquatica TV. Don't forget to like and comment on all our videos and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned to Gallery Aquatica TV for more exciting episodes to come. I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Happy reefing!